Hello, found footage fans, and welcome to We Found a Tape.
Tape Talks.
Welcome to Tape Talks, a special new series from We Found a Tape. Here we sit down with directors, filmmakers and cinematographers to deep dive into the creative process behind found footage filmmaking, from writing and shooting to the journey of bringing these unique stories to life.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Tape Talks. We are joined by a very special guest. I am truly honored to be joined by the legendary Fred Vogel. Everyone who's anyone knows the legend from the creator of August Underground, amongst so many other incredibly high-class films, such as Maskhead and the final interview that we can't wait to talk about. Fred, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, guys. Happy to be here.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. We're really happy to have you on. Our podcast here, we're predominantly talking about found footage, but we made this specific segment to talk with filmmakers, to talk about their work, their influence, and everything in between. Any topic is a go for us. So kind of starting from the beginning of your career, you mainly focused on things like special effects, and that was your main avenue into filmmaking. I was curious, what was your sort of main influence for getting into that work, and were there any particular movies or scenes that stood out as reference to be like, shit, that's what I want to do?
Sure. Yeah. So, what got me into special makeup effects is Frankenstein. You know, the original 1931 Boris Karloff classic. I remember being 5 years old watching this movie and being turned on. You know, it was just something about his face, about him being dead, about it being black and white, about the music, about the, everything about it I loved. And at that moment in time, in like the really early 80s, in the toy stores, there is like this renaissance of Universal monsters. So you can go to a Toys R Us or something like that and grab a Frankenstein off the shelf from Remco Toys, or Mego, so it was very cool just to have that. And then I was able to play with like my Star Wars guys because they were like the same size. So it was super cool. And I also had the opportunity as well that in like my public library, my school library, they made these really great little monster books from Crestwood House. They were like orange bound books, and you would get Frankenstein, or Dracula or King Kong, and it was big bold writing. It was totally made for a child, and I have a bunch of them in my collection. I went back and found them over the years. Wow. But that's kind of like the first thing that really got me into liking what I would later find out is horror movies. And as you grow and start watching stuff, you start seeing, this is a horror movie too. And then it's, then you're watching, Friday the 13th, and it's completely different than a Universal movie. And I just fell in love with, falling down that rabbit hole and finding all these great horror movies. Again, being a kid of the 80s and having your pick at video stores to pick whatever you want was a really magical time. And I think that's why, especially people in my Gen X generation, we love the special effects. We love the horror movies because we were there for the boom, the big boom that happened in the 80s.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm a 80s kid, so I was born in 84. So, I got to experience, going to the video store with my dad on the weekends. And usually for me, going down the horror section, it was what stood out the most for me. What was the most colorful? What was the most gruesome, scariest monster that was on the cover or anything like that? I found myself becoming a big fan of the Puppet Master movies because of all the puppets that were on the VHS tapes. So those would always stick out to me. Those were some that would stick out. They would come out, and also like movies like the Unnameable. There are like the Slaughterhouse. I'm sorry. What is it called? The sorority Slaughterhouse movies and stuff like that. The guy with the guitar with the drill on the end. Stuff like that would stick out to me, and I would just grab it, and we would that was our weekly ritual. To go out Saturday morning, go do whatever we do, stop at the video store, pick it up and then just make a weekend of it, me and my dad. So it's,
Yeah,
you know,
man. There's
it was a great time to be alive.
It sure was, and it's really sad that that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Where a family would go out and have a nice little debate on what we're going to watch, and then dad finally gives in and okay, you can have whatever you want or whatever. That was a magical time. Again, everything right now is just so easy access. It's just like, all right, turn on your TV, click, 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 scroll, 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 scroll. You're missing the whole art, just go. I mean, like video stores back in the day had that smell of popcorn, and being excited that hopefully behind the tape was the actual tape, for you to like rent the movie that you wanted to rent. There's so many great things about that, and I'm just glad that we kind of grew up in that time.
Absolutely. And I find myself that now we have streaming services that just have everything so readily available. It takes away that experience, and I find myself so overwhelmed to where I don't know what I want to watch anymore, and then get overwhelmed to the point where like I don't want to do this anymore. You kind of walk away from it because it's like, geez, I just have everything so available. What happened to going to the video store, skimming through, picking what I want, and then I chose this, and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna enjoy it. Now I can just click a couple of buttons and everything is there, and it's just like, wow, what do I pick? And it just becomes crazy.
It's so much. Everything in 2025 is just so much.
Yeah.
Too much. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much choice. And now with like what I believe is going to happen with like AI and this kind of stuff is eventually our TVs are going to know what we like.
Right.
And it's going to cater directly to me. It's going to have Seinfeld on there. It's going to have Karate Kid. It's going to have horror movies. It's going to have all the stuff that like myself and my wife like, because it's just going to know. It's going to be because it's going to just like your feed on your Instagram or your Facebook or whatever. It starts learning you,
right?
And eventually, for us, people who watch a lot of horror movies, we're just going to be like horror movie until you're like, oh, I don't even know what to watch anymore. And I'm a guy. I watch Frankenstein at least twice a year. I watch the Friday the 13th movies on Friday the 13th. If there's 3 of them in a year, I'm watching them.
Hell yeah.
During the month of October, I'm watching horror movies all month long. During Christmas, I'm watching Christmas movies. I'm constantly, watching movies, and it's a lot of the same movies, and of course I'll try to watch something new, but man, like I love my comfort food, and I love being able to watch a movie that I know just gives me that joy that sends me back to that time when I saw it in the theater or the first time on video. So it's, that's what I love about films, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the movie theater experience, like that's also something that's taken a downturn in the last few years. Like physically getting up and going out and going to the movie theater and getting printable tickets as well. That's one thing that we always have a trouble with is like we're very physical collectors, so it's either physical media, physically going to the movies, and we want physical tickets. And I always get so disappointed when I get to Cineplex as it is here, and it's all like on your phone. It's like they scan a QR code and then you're in, and then you go to the screen and you sit down. So we are always like yearning for the physical element of cinema, because that was just such an enjoyable period in everyone's lives. I think that was the true joy in life, was the excursion to go out to the movies, the rental store, the movie theater, and just be immersed in it, like the colorful carpets and like the arcades and things like that, and like that was just golden age, man.
There was a really cool, when I first moved to Pittsburgh in 1996, the first movie that I went to was a movie called Kingpin with Woody Harrelson.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's actually filmed in Pittsburgh. So like I'm watching the movie and I'm seeing like, hey, wasn't that the bowling alley I just passed? And it was. But this movie theater that I went to was like a UFO. It had like all these blinking lights and these windows to look out, and there was space outside there. You're like in this like giant UFO. It was like the coolest theater. And now, just like everything else, everything is a box. There's no art to it. It's just like, oh my God, what am I in? Like I miss I miss that kind of design where you're in something cool. It was a really great environment. Now it's like, just get you into the theater, get in your comfy seat, put on the heating, kick your feet back, which is great. I mean, those old seats kind of sucked, but you missed the whole experience of like that theater being very cool. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
And
We
and for like the tickets, you know, man, I can reach into my underwear drawer and find like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 and the Friday the 13th Part 7, you know, in there still. Like I keep all that stuff, just like you guys. You know, I'm a physical collector as well. I got too much shit.
Yeah.
Behind me is all my autographed Frankenstein photos all from the original, and I might have one from like Son of Frankenstein over there as well. But it's all autographs from like Boris Karloff and Colin Clive and things like that.
Wow, that's incredible. What do you think of the resurgence of Frankenstein movies coming out like this year? Because there's The Bride, and there's a Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein. Like, how does that make you feel with these types of movies coming out again after all these years?
I love it. You know, it's funny because I have a Frankenstein script that I've been trying to make for a while.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's tough, and it's like, damn it, I want to make the Frankenstein movie. No, these Frankenstein movies are coming out. Or is that a good sign or is that a bad sign? Right? No, I'm just, you know, I love the story of Frankenstein. I know what Guillermo is doing. His is very much like the book, and I know what Maggie Gyllenhaal is doing with hers, and it's very like kind of like a punk rock-esque kind of thing. And the story of Frankenstein is just such an amazing story. It can be done so many ways, and that's why there are so many Frankenstein movies. It's because there's so much. I mean, shit, man, the Reanimator is a Frankenstein movie,
right? Yeah.
You know? It doesn't have Frankenstein in it, but it's all about reanimation. It's about bringing the dead back to life, and that is, you know, that came from a little girl, you know, on a rainy night back all those years later, you know, back in the day.
Hell yeah.
We actually reviewed a Frankenstein-ish movie not too long ago here. It's called Frankenstein's Army.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, that's a really good one if you've never seen it before. It was really intense.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of it.
It's insane. David told me about it, and I was like, I don't hold out much hope. It's gonna sound weird, like Nazi zombie reanimation type experimentation. Oh, dude, it's fucking incredible. It's kind of like a found footage set in like World War II.
Okay.
So it's like documented where this crew are basically trying to find Frankenstein, the scientist, to bring him back to Stalin, to the Russians, so that they can use his like technology of reanimation and all that. And it's their journey to them, and then these crazy monsters. It's made by a guy, Richard Raphorst, in like fucking Bulgaria or some shit. Oh my god, it's one of the best like found footage movies like ever, genuinely. And if you love Frankenstein, it's definitely worth a watch.
You gotta check it out.
Hell yeah! And if you do, let us know what you think.
Yeah,
it's fucking sick. But yeah, going back to Man of the Hour, Mr. Fred Vogel here. Out of all the movies that you've done, of course, because your special effects is your bread and butter, was there ever a time where you had done a stunt or effect that you couldn't believe that you pulled it off to the degree that you did? You're just, holy shit, I can't believe I did that.
I mean, shit, man. When we finished shooting August Underground's Mortem, and we did the end scene of the movie, I remember watching that being like, oh my god, like this is like the most disturbing scene ever captured, or like we're going to jail. Like this is just fucking nuts. Like, I mean, it's in, you know, the crazy thing is like we had to do it twice. Like the first time we did it, our actress, she you know, it's been such a long time, you know, but she just wasn't in the right state of mind. Things didn't come out properly the way that we wanted to. It was a big, huge day, you know, because there's like her hanging upside down and she's all hooked up the hoses. So when we slit the throat, blood comes out. There's the stuff going on in the bathroom. And it was just this big, chaotic day. And it just wasn't working because of, you know, of the day. And we had to let her go. And then Shelby stepped in, and we did it the next day and killed it. And I just remember, watching it and just being like, oh my God, this is unreal. Like, what the fuck did we do here? And it's such a crazy feeling when you create art like that, to where it's like, you start thinking about consequences, you start thinking about how it's going to make people feel.
Yeah.
And just I just remember like sitting with people watching it for the first time, and like just watching them, like jaw hit the floor, and I'm just like, oh my God, we did something here.
And that's what you crave as like a filmmaker and as a special effects person. Like that's what you crave, to see that captured in a moment
Sure.
in cinema. And then in that point, I mean, there's all the behind the scenes stuff, and it's the effects, but it's when people see it and have that visceral reaction to where they're, the jaws literally on the floor.
Yeah,
as
I mean,
you,
like
as you
that's the
watch
thing is
other
people aren't seeing, Jeremy Cruz, the master of all ToeTag's effects, behind there pumping the blood and making
Right.
sure, like when I'm moving around, he can move around and do all the stuff that he needs to do. Because a lot of people don't understand, like August Underground, those movies it's an elaborate dance. It's a very choreographed dance, because all kinds of things have to be working for everything to work right, especially when there's an effect scene in it. Because we have these very long takes, and what makes them scary and makes them real is like them being very long and us trying not to have an edit point in there, like your traditional horror film. So it's a lot of making sure that camera's going the right way and not catching anything in the background or whatever we're trying to do. So it's a big dance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I was going to ask, is there, so being that we're talking about all these different films, is there any films that you can recall that just had a soundtrack that just blew you away?
Ooh, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh man, again, I'm an 80s kid, so like the soundtrack of the 80s is amazing. I mean, I love the Lost Boys soundtrack. I mean, because I love a lot of that source music. Of course, a good film score is killer. But when I think of a soundtrack, I'm thinking that there's the source music that's going along in the movie as well. I got a really large soundtrack section, but I love Goblin, and I love what Claudio Simonetti did with Goblin and the Argento films, and of course like with Dawn of the Dead with Romero. I can listen to that shit all day long. And film, scores and soundtracks, man, are like, they're so important.
Yeah.
It's almost the identity of a movie sometimes. And if you have a soundtrack that has an identity, I believe it will live longer in the universe. You know what I'm saying? Like, John Carpenter's Halloween theme, or Harry Manfredini's Friday the 13th theme, or, you think of these movies that have these great themes to them that they're just as iconic as the film itself,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like just to kind of like piggyback off you, like maybe they're not all horror. Like John Carpenter always has like iconic, movie film scores. But some movies that I can remember, like from the 80s, are like Legend. Have you ever seen Legend before? With
Oh
Tom
yeah, Jerry
That was
Goldsmith.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. The Bloodsport and Kickboxer movies with Jean-Claude Van Damme, those were good scores.
Yeah.
It's not even anybody known, but it's just the score. That music is like, if you were to hear it just randomly, like say in a grocery store, you would know right away that that's where that came from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just
No,
takes you back.
and that's such an artistry itself. Like I've been very lucky to have some great people do scores for my films. I got to have like Steve Moore from the band Zombie and Scott Hull from Pig Destroyer do the Redson Tower. Paul Joyce did the final interview, which I think is like my favorite score of all my movies. I think it's brilliant.
It was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, it's the August Underground movies obviously don't really have a film score, because you're just catching natural sounds and stuff that we're trying to hope to put in there, to fill up the soundtrack. But you know, like I mean, when I did the Redson Tower, Relapse Records gave me the music, and you know, Scott Hall from and Steve Moore just made the sickest soundtrack for it. And you know, some great, I mean, there's bands like Zeke on there, and you know, it's a great little soundtrack. I was very lucky to, you know, for them to donate that music to me, you know.
Yeah, I always resonate with like a montage type music. So for me, you know, like the Rocky soundtrack is
Oh yeah,
fantastic.
the
Um,
Rocky Four soundtrack. You know,
oh,
you know, you can't beat that. You know,
one that really stands out to me, and it's not really a movie that a lot of people talk about, and I tell anyone I can. It's a movie called Rad,
oh yeah,
and
dude.
fucking Rad is one of the best soundtracks I have ever heard, and I went through a phase where I would just listen to Break the Ice, like
Getting
fucking
ready
on
to
repeat.
break the ice.
It almost made me want to get a BMX bike.
Oh, dude, see, so Rad. You know, at my age, when Rad came out, and I think it was '86. It was, oh my god, man, it was a dud. It didn't do nothing in the theaters, but man, for when it hit the video market and we were able to get it, because you know at the same time in like '86, there skateboarding was still super hot. So you would have movies like, you know, Josh Brolin Thrashing and Gleaming the Cube, with Christian Slater, and then all this, you know, all these really great movies like with kids our age doing cool stuff. Like I want to ride bikes and go ride Hell Track, or I want to jump over a police car and like Gleam in the Cube, you know, or bomb a hill with Tony Hawk. You know, I mean, it was just a great time, man. You know, and Drew Jones, dude, is a freaking legend. You know, he's a
Absolutely.
freaking legend. And on Rad Day in March or May, whenever it is, it was like a Rad Day. And I went and saw it on the big screen. You know, I try not to miss it.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I got like a Blu-ray steelbook that was given for Christmas that was put out of Rad, and one of my prized possessions. Genuinely, I was obsessed.
I got the long sleeve Rad jersey. You know what I mean? Like the red shirt with the Rad racing on it.
I did have a Rad. I had this red shirt that had the Rad Racing logo on it, and it got tore up
Yeah.
in the laundry one time, and I was fucking devastated. But and then it just made me want to like get out, like, you know, just cut out the thing and just put some fucking black paint, just
Hell
Rad
yeah.
style.
That's how you do it. DIY style.
Yeah.
That's how we started doing our shirts back in the day. You know, Christy, you know, from the August Underground movie, she was the head of the art department, and she would like hand paint shirts and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, we maybe have 12 or 13 of some of these things, and she'd hand paint that stuff. You know, that's the thing about ToeTag, especially like back in the early 2000s when we were really just becoming who we were. It was all about the art. You know, the August Underground movies are art films. You know, they're never there to make money or let's make the sickest movie ever. Like those words never came out of my mouth. You know, it was just about like let's make something that is very visceral and is gonna like provoke people. You know, and that's what art should do, right?
Yeah, and I really think that this series of films truly is going to be like encapsulated in a time capsule for people to view forever. Genuinely, like it was the what you're doing in 2001, right, is what people in 2025 aspire to do with mainstream horror films nowadays. The likes of like Saw and all these sort of things. Like they wish they were August Underground, and it's stood the test of time. And we recently reviewed on the show because it was August. I was like, what other time are we gonna get to do August Underground this year unless it's next August? So I was like, oh, fuck it, we're about to go on a trip. We went to New Orleans together.
Nice.
We're
I
about
love
to go on
the
a trip. It was our first time, so we had a blast. We went to
Yeah.
Museum of Death. It was fucking sick. But yeah, we watched that, and like we'd mentally braced ourselves because, you know, the word around August Underground is just, you know, brutality and just unforgiving, and what we got out of it was early 2000s, almost like a vlog of these two maniacs who are just going about their lives. And I didn't expect to be so entertained. I didn't expect to have such feelings of and yearning for such feelings of nostalgia and like Americana, like the gas station, the convenience store, and just all of that. Like, yes, it's this violent film, you can't escape it, but those were the types of things that really stood out to us, and like we were laughing, and I was like, I didn't expect to have feelings watching August Underground.
You're sick fuck, dude.
Yeah, I was like, I felt very conflicted in the moment. I was like, wow, like anyone that has any bad review of this, like you don't get it, man.
Oh,
like, and it's like it's like a black and white type film, right? You either love it or you're going to hate it, and it's not one that we'll technically recommend to people, but if you're on the fence about watching it, I will say 100% you have to check it out because just of that. So I wanted to say that and just.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's now all these years later. August Underground is going to be 25 years old next year. Incredible. And all these years later, it's finding a whole new fan base. All young people are discovering it, especially now that Unearthed Films put out these really beautiful Blu-rays with all these special features, and the box set will be coming, which will have even more stuff and more history behind like what you're seeing. But when I made August Underground, dude, man, it threw my life into complete chaos. Like I was teaching at the Tom Savini makeup school. I lost my job. My partner in my company who I made the movie with, Alan Peters, he left and quit and wanted nothing to do with it. I would show it to friends. They'd be like, what the fuck is this, Fred? This is like disgusting. Because they knew me as a person and they just couldn't get like the character that I was trying to do. They just saw, hey, it's Freddie Vogel, the nice guy from high school or whatever. Because remember, and when I made August Underground, I just graduated college. I was teaching at the school. I'm 24 years old, so around that, 24, 25. And, there was nothing really like it to show people, and like, so when people were seeing it, they never seen anything like it. We've all seen home videos and now home videos work, but never to the point to where I'm watching a home video and the next thing you know, you're watching me like with a girl with her nipple cut off, smearing shit in it, and that's what freaking knocked people. And it wasn't until Rue Morgue magazine, who was just like, yo, dude, you did something that people have been trying to do for a long time. Like, and we hope that this is a movie. They were just as terrified as everybody else. Like when we started sending the movie out for reviews, a lot of times people be like, what the fuck did you just send me? Or they would never write back. People just didn't know what it was. And, that's one of the reasons why Alan left, because he just was like, he had a family and a whole different life than I did. And I was like 100% fucking all in, like this is my first movie. I chose to be the lead in it because if anybody was going to get in trouble, it was going to be me. You know what I mean? Like I was all in 100%. Like if this thing was going to go down, I'll take the fucking, I'll take the heat. Because again, we were doing stuff that nobody was doing. You know what I mean? Like nobody was doing. And of course there were movies out there who totally inspired us, inspired me big time. Like, the scene from Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, was a huge inspiration. That's what I would show the actors and be like, all right, guys, see, this is what we're trying to do. So it's going to be kind of real, and of course, movies like Man Bites Dog and Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, yeah.
Just a lot of that exploitation.
Right.
Myself and Alan both loved exploitation films. And, he showed me a lot of movies. He was really into a lot of, Herzog films. And, we just watched all kinds of fucking movies, and, when it came to August Underground, it was all out of necessity because if we just didn't have the money, we were shooting on the weekends,
Right.
So I was like shooting door, I was teaching during the week, and then okay, we got a girl coming to the house. She's going to be in the basement. All right, sweet, let's do it. Let me get the blood ready.
And I watched I think it was on your YouTube channel or ToeTag's YouTube channel, so one of them, and it's like a on location for August Underground that you filmed way back, and that almost brought me even more of a fondness to it because you brought your grandmother in, and she was the one who was, of course, attacked in the kitchen. Your cousin, your brother,
Yep.
right, were in the
Convenience store.
the convenience store, and he breaks the glass.
I put it. Yeah, I
on
put
the
his head.
machine.
I accidentally put his head through that glass.
What's funny-
That cost, out of the the $1,600 budget or whatever August Underground was, like that was $600 of it.
oh my
Wow.
But
and-
my buddy let me use his convenience store. He was the best. So
Yeah, and I love that. I love that it just felt like such like a local boy just sort of uses the local area to like fucking make this
yeah, well that's what
insane horror film.
that's how I got the cops, man. That's how I got the cops to come out after me because it was local boy makes movie. Those cops had no idea what I was making.
Yeah,
And there's like the clerk that I killed. He was my video store clerk when I was a kid. He was the 16-year-old guy working in the video store, and I was the 12-year-old kid that was coming and be like, "Hey, can I look at your posters?" Okay, Fred, here you go. Or can I sign the back of that Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 standee? Yeah, and I can take it home. He was that guy. And I bumped back into him, and I'm like, dude, I am making a movie, and I want you to be in it, and he was all about it. And it was really awesome to have him and have my grandma and have a few, I'm happy with everybody. Everybody in the movie did so great. There's a lot of people I don't talk to anymore that wanted nothing to do with the movie anymore. But that just comes with the time and growing up. And, it's so easy when you're 23 to show your tits, or be in a movie like August Underground because you're still, you're rebelling, there's that, I can do whatever the fuck I want, then all of a sudden you're 27, now you have a baby and a job and a mortgage and, life changes, so I miss those people and I thank them dearly from the bottom of my heart for participating in August Underground and being part of history. But I let them be. I don't try to reach out to a lot of people. Even Christy. She left ToeTag and right before we did Murder Collection Volume 1, and she found God and had a child and has a wonderful life and she's an amazing artist and we still talk to this day, but like I let her be. I don't have her on any of my social. I want nobody bothering her. I just want her to enjoy the life that she has right now,
Right. Well, that's awesome. And yeah, it was a great period.
I'm glad you guys, I'm glad you dig the movie, especially is this the most recent you've seen it, like, or have you seen it back in the day?
Well, first time.
It was your first time watching it.
First time watching it.
So I missed it in the early 2000s because I was out partying and things like that. So there was a point in time in that partying phase where I left watching movies behind and wrestling. I've been a wrestling fan since I was a kid. So I missed part of the Attitude Era because I was out partying and things like that.
Sure.
So so I missed all that. We kind of it's been throughout my life, where this has popped up in conversations, but never came around to it until we actually, started this podcast. And then, John was saying, "Hey, it's August, let's do August Underground." And I was like, okay, fine. I mean, it's been there for a while. I think it's time we, give it a watch and see what it's all about. And it was one hell of a ride. Yes, it's very in your face, very extreme, but there are some funny moments. There was the whole thing there was a show or concert and they get into a fight with all the guys outside. That whole scene just, had me cracking up because of everything that was going on. So it was crazy. It was a good.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I get asked about that one a lot. Like, who's that band? Or did people know that you were going to fight? Like, what was the deal? And the deal is that the band was one of my students at the time had a band. They were playing a show, and I worked out, something with one of their buddies who I was going to fight. And it was just like, all right, dude, we're just going to go body shots as hard as we can, and just kind of like, I'm like, these kids are going to try to break it up. You know what I mean? So like, let's just, you and I go. And once the bouncer grabs me, we just go outside. You'll have your posse and I'll be with me, and it'll be me and the cameraman. And as I'm fighting, I'm getting kicked by kids because obviously I was a little older than everybody else there. I mean, it was definitely like a younger aged show. So I'm like 24, these guys are like 15, 16 years old. So somebody kicked me and plus I just winded from fighting, you know what I mean? And going out and trying to like say my dialogue. I'm like, I can barely talk, can't breathe. And the sky was so foggy that night. It just gave this really crazy look. And like, just how the movie's degraded. It just looks magical, that scene. I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely. It really got me. It was just a great scene overall. I really enjoyed it.
It needed to have those kind of scenes in there. It needed to have me jumping on the hay bales. It needed to have that other life, because once you're back in that basement and you're seeing like who these people really are, that needed to be terrifying. At least that's what I was hoping,
Definitely is, and that's why I was saying like it's kind of like an early type vlog, where it's like this is one part of our lives that you see for the world, where you're playing in hay bales and going to rock shows and like going to the comic book store and like getting a tattoo in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like those scenes, like they humanize, and then it's the complete juxtaposition of these like violent crimes with like still the camaraderie between the two, right? It's so subtle and so in your face at the same time. It was one hell of an experience. And we so my girlfriend, she is adamant in collecting physical media. She got the Unearthed first one, and that was really the impetus for me to want to watch it. It'd been on my mind, for many years. It had come up in conversations, and I'd seen it everywhere. And when she finally got that, that's where I was like, okay, we need to watch it. So we decided to watch it, and it was just great. Even the DVD menu, where it's like you're gonna hit play, like that. The attention to detail of that was just. Oh, it's so fucking sick. Man.
Again, man, I love physical media, and there used to be some great DVD menus, and I wanted the same thing. I wanted ToeTag's releases to not feel like a burn or a DVD or anything like that. It was the real deal. I wanted to show people like, yeah, we're making underground movies, but we're going to give you the best that we can give you, and that's the art behind it, from the artwork to covers to changing the covers to, all the cool stuff that we did back in the day for these releases. It was just really special for us to make it for the collector, because I knew not everybody was going to watch fucking August Underground's Penance, you know what I mean? But I wanted the people who do to get something cool. To get a cool package, to get an autographed DVD, to get that kind of stuff. So that's the way I've always been. You mentioned you're a wrestling fan, like I am too. And my marketing heroes are Kiss and, Vince McMahon,
yeah.
Wrestling, God, man, I've been watching wrestling since, 1983. I began growing up in New Jersey. WWF was in that tri-state area. So like on every Friday, you can go to the Brendan Byrne Arena or Madison Square Garden or the Philadelphia Spectrum. Everything was only an hour away. So I would go to like my friend's house, and his dad would take us to wrestling shows. It was $5 a ticket. My God, I seen everybody. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, all the greats from the 80s. But yeah, like the marketing behind that and the character, just it was so important to me. Like I started ToeTag because, that name ToeTag would be a great company name. As soon as you hear it, you know exactly what it is. Our business cards were toe tags. When we first started doing conventions, we would wear like white lab coats and be very, with ties and, very clinical about things like that. So, it was, the branding was just as important as the art too,
Absolutely. I know you mentioned, we dipped into wrestling there for a moment. I did watch some old interviews that you've done on YouTube, and I noticed that Hulk Hogan is like your top, favorite wrestler of all time. Can you recall a match that you saw with him in person that, that was a memorable time for you? Like, was it against Andre the Giant or anybody like that?
Yeah, it was against Big John Studd in a steel in a steel cage. And I remember being disappointed because Hulk wasn't wearing the red and yellow. He was wearing white. And I never seen him wear anything else but, on TV, you always see just like the red and yellow. So like when Hogan would do house shows, he would wrestle either in like white trunks or he'd wrestle in blue trunks. And, the other times he was wrestling in yellow.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I remember him like wearing the white, and I'm like, well, why is this? And my little brain just didn't understand what I was seeing. But man, what a brutal match that was! It was so bloody because Hogan would, he would give you everything. He'd cut himself open and get some color, and bleed everywhere. And I mean, there was nothing more magical than watching Hulk Hogan do a leg drop. At that moment in time when he was the biggest thing in the world, and I was very lucky to meet Hulk later on in life and, shoot the shit with him. He was super candid with me. I remember, he was telling me how he just got back from like Mexico and because he had to get some surgery. He had something with his surgeries or medication or whatever, stem cell. I don't know, but it was something in Mexico. I was still like, Hulk Hogan's talking to me, but he was just super candid with me and super nice, and it was like talking to like my dad's friend, like I grew up again, man. It's my age, but like I respect my elders, and like even though I know who I am and I know that's the Hulkster, I was still like, yes sir, talking to him like, I respect him to enough to not just take it for granted and really like absorb everything that he was saying to me. And the handshake and everything. It was just like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I was like just hanging out with Hulk Hogan. And he was giving me the time. This was at the San Diego Comic-Con.
Wow.
And he was hanging out behind my buddy's booth. And we were just able to, talk to Hulk, and Jimmy Hart was with him. And nobody was really bothering him because we were kind of in the back. He just didn't, a lot of people didn't see him or anything like that, and it just gave me the opportunity just to shoot the shit and tell him about those matches and tell him about like, how much of a Hulkamaniac I am, man. I'm a Hulkamaniac through and through,
I think we all are at heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at different part, he's generational, really. Like,
yeah,
he
dude,
touched every single moment in wrestling. So
Yeah,
AWO was huge.
him and Ozzy died, man. That was a hard, double punch right there.
Absolutely. Two absolute fucking greats of their respective, field. Like,
God. I mean,
heavy, man.
and the influences those guys had on my life, man, is like,
Yeah.
there wasn't a ToeTag movie made that didn't have Black Sabbath as the soundtrack of the workshop. Jeremy Cruz, would be building the effects, and it would be nothing but Black Sabbath all day, all night. I remember when Black Sabbath got together, Jeremy and I went and saw them. And this is when the full lineup was with them. Bill Ward was touring with them.
Hell yeah.
And, we're standing there. It's a beautiful night. And somebody passes us a joint, and him and I are hitting this joint. And I'm like, dude, can you fucking close your eyes, man? This could be like 1970 right fucking now. Like, this is Black Sabbath. We're smoking a joint. It doesn't have to be 1996. It could be 1970, And that's just the love for Black Sabbath, you know, and Ozzy. God, man, he was such a soundtrack to my life. You know, he still is. Still.
Yeah,
Nice.
so good. And yeah, from and another man that was in wrestling, like the worlds collided in that aspect because Ozzy was very much a part of like wrestling. He
Oh
loved
yeah.
it. Lemmy from Motorhead was another one for me. I was really fucking gut punched when he passed because his contribution to music and wrestling as well was just
Oh my God, dude! The game, that song is so badass. That's like that song is just as good as Ace of Spades. You know what I mean? It's such a badass song. Like Motorhead never put out a bad record.
yeah.
You know, they're like AC/DC. It's like you know what you're getting. You know, you're getting Lemmy's fucking voice like he's chewing on gravel and just a thunderous bass, just fucking tearing it up. Oh my God, man!
And he loved like Little Richard and
Oh yeah, dude, he was Jimi Hendrix. He was Jimi Hendrix roadie.
Yeah, like he had such a completely different influence, and he has then imposed his influence on the world to this like fucking hardcore bass tone that just no one will ever really replicate again.
Sure, man. You have to think about it like Ozzy, he's a huge Beatles fan,
Yeah.
like these guys were inventing heavy metal, they knew what they love, they loved that rhythm, but it wasn't until Tony Iommi put those little stubby fingers up to that guitar and fucking changed rock and roll. You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't Lemmy to take the microphone and tilt it down like this so he has to sing up like this now. Comes out when he's singing. That's in seeing these people innovate. Every artist wants to be able to do that. Absolutely. And just like in me with my films and my art, man, like I want to innovate. That's why I'm always so excited when somebody else tries to make the next most disturbing movie or influenced by my films and want to pick up a camera. Oh, I couldn't tell you how many times I get messages from people like, Fred, I have no money. How do I make a movie? And it's like, well, I didn't have any money either. All I had was, my belief that I'm going to do it and the persistence to do it. Like you have to just get off your ass and do it and ask for help and try to, see. I knew a convenience store. That's why I got a convenience store in the movie. I knew the guys who own the slaughterhouse. That's why I got to go to the slaughterhouse. It was, it's what you have available to you, to help push that art because, before I made August Underground, I wanted to make like my zombie trilogy. I love George Romero. It's the whole reason why I moved to Pittsburgh was George Romero and Tom Savini, and of course Bruno Sammartino.
Of course.
But those, making my own zombie epic was just something that I thought would be like that's going to be my first step. Is like let me make this, and I could never raise that money. It was just way too hard to raise that kind of money. And you know what I could do? I'm pretty good at special effects. And if we shoot this in a way to where we don't have to worry about big lights and we don't have to worry about sound and we don't have to worry about all this shit, like, we might be able to create something, there really wasn't a template for what we were trying to do. The Blair Witch Project came out a year prior.
Right.
And the thing that I took from the Blair Witch, was their marketing. Oh my God, these guys made a website. People believe this shit's real. I'm like, that is awesome. How do I do that? How do I make something look so real that they call the cops on me and they, I get arrested for making this movie? And it's like, haha, it's all special effects, fooled you, and especially like on an extreme side of movie making where, we would always hear the rumblings and like of hearing about like Charlie Sheen, all coked up watching Guinea Pig and calling the FBI. And I was just like, man, I hope something like that fucking happens to me. But of course, in 2001, the trade centers went down and America changed. And I wasn't able to give my movie that kind of release. And I had to let people know that it was fake. And, who knows what, it's hindsight. What would have happened if I dropped them off in playgrounds and schools and, police stations, I look at August Underground now, 25 years later, and just be like, man, I can't believe this little movie that I made caught lightning in a bottle enough that people are still talking about it all these years later. And like you guys, you know what I mean? Like discovering it all these years later and enjoying it. So as an artist, man, you can't ask for anything better.
No, definitely not. It's like I said, it's generational. It's August Underground is like the Hulk Hogan of the fucking, like, the extreme cinema. And I mean, it's true. Like,
Thanks, dude.
There's that Rushmore of, extreme cinema, and like everyone's coming out with these like icebergs, and that's where it's getting all this new thing for the modern age through like TikTok and social media. It's then bringing it to a new, entirely different audience who are then gearing up their own type of thing. Maybe that's going to push someone else to make their own version of, August Underground and, Guinea Pig and, some of the other extreme ones. And found footage in particular is definitely a genre that lends itself to reality based on the filming techniques of how it is with the handheld things, and you're really up close and personal, and that's where you can blur the lines even more. And everyone nowadays has like a fucking 4K camera in their pocket that you can use your iPhone, and you can use that and get really high quality thing. What people yearn for now is that low quality, VHS high 8 style that you were able to capture at that time just out of necessity.
Yeah, well, I mean, so August Underground was shot on a really nice camera. It was shot on a Canon XL1. So, like, the raw footage looked amazing,
Oh, wow.
That's what they were shooting a lot of, like, commercials on, was this Canon camera.
Wow.
But it wasn't until post-production when we decided to, like, make it look like it was found in a puddle of piss. And all we did was, the filters that you would have nowadays, where it's like, hey, VHS filter, click, and it looks like a VHS tape. We would actually like export the film onto like some of my old wrestling tapes, that just had dust and crap all in them, and and export it and do it again and do it again and do it again. And that's really where it looks different. And I think that's why August Underground looks very different than all these other found footage movies that try to replicate it. They weren't able to get it to look the way that I was able to get it to look. There's something so organic about it, because it needed to be a home video. It needed to look like a home video and not stylized at all. Like, if August Underground looked stylized, or it looked like a movie where, you were getting a complete arc of the story, or, there is the beginning, middle, and end, and, you saw the special effects, really look like a rubber head or something like that, it wasn't going to work. It needed to be watched like you're looking through a peephole, you know what I mean? Where you're not seeing everything, but you're trying to focus on stuff, and it's disoriented because your face is pushed up to a little hole, and you're looking, and oh my God, what, you can't see what's on that side of the room or what's on that side of the room. You just have this. And I made sure that what I showed you in this also had a life around it. Right. So like in all the other scenes, there's other shit going on that's happening. It's just that no, you're following me. You're coming with me. We're going here. We're doing this.
Right.
And that's really what makes it personal. And I think that's the nihilistic vision of August Underground, is that it's very personal. It's the personal home video of these two lunatics. And then by the time we did the second one, it was the group. And then by the time we did the third one, it was just, Krusty and me, and which is one of my favorites. Which August Underground is your guys' favorite?
So I've only seen the first one. I haven't seen the other ones yet.
Oh,
so yeah, so I haven't gotten to the other ones yet.
Okay.
John's gone a little further than I have.
I would say the first one for me was definitely like, I felt warm and fuzzy watching it. I pulled these out just in case, but like we did get this relatively recently in our travels when we were going to New Orleans. We were able to get Mordom and also the Red Sun Tower.
Ooh,
we were able to get
that's a first pressing right there.
Yeah, our good friend Will from Chesterfield he had a copy of it, and immediately he like pulled it like this box of treasures when we went to go see him. And he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I've got some cool stuff," and he like pulls it out, and like both of us eyes darted. Is that the Red Sin Tower? We were literally
Yeah.
talking about it. We drove from Canada down to Virginia, flew from Virginia to New Orleans. So we had a few days in Virginia. We drive through Pennsylvania like every time. Like the majority of our journeys in Pennsylvania. So driving through, we're talking about like August Underground and Red Sin Tower, and yeah. As soon as we saw that, we were like darted towards. I was like, "That's fucking sick. We need to get that." So we were able to pick that up recently, which was awesome.
No, and that's the cool thing, man. Is like that's the first pressing of the Redson Tower, and at that moment in time, we wanted like a more of it was shot digitally, of course, but we wanted more of a film graded look to it. So there's like a filter on it where it's a little darker and it's a little bit more grainy. And when we ended up doing the special edition, the 5-disc set of Redson Tower, the Possession edition, we were able to clean up the movie and change it because now at that moment in time everybody wanted clean, so it was you can't win, but
Yeah.
I like them both because the grittier one, it feels like you're watching an old VHS, and the clean one looks like a movie you're watching today. And man, did I have a fun time making that one. That was a really fun time making the Redson Tower.
Hell yeah. And in terms of your like the move from making the August Underground to Red Sin Tower from a filmmaking perspective, from a directorial perspective, and from an effect perspective, like what were the key differences for you that you felt in that time when you're stepping from August Underground to and really progressing through all of your films?
Sure. So after we got done doing August Underground's Mortem, ToeTag started kind of like percolate in the world of horror, and people started finding out about us. We were contacted by a filmmaker named Nick Palumbo who wanted us to do the effects for his movie called Murder Set Pieces. So shot on 35 millimeter. We kind of pulled a lot of the same gags we did in August Underground's Mortem because we're like, shit, nobody's going to see our movie. Everybody's going to be watching this shot on 35 millimeter. It's going to be in the fucking movie theaters. Like, let's take our effects, and now we have a little bit more money. Let's just make this shit fucking killer. We do this movie. We made some money, and we came back to Pittsburgh and opened up our first studio. And we were like, well, what's going to be our next project we're going to do? And the last thing I wanted to do was another August Underground. I knew that I was going to do one because I wanted to like cap it off as a trilogy. And myself, I love slasher movies, and Jeremy Cruz loves possession movies. So like, we wanted to kind of like mix the genre. We wanted to show people that I wanted to show people that I wasn't just this guy who makes snuff movies. Like I can actually make a movie. It was the first time ToeTag actually had a sound guy. We were building sets. We were doing animatronics. We were doing so much. I mean, we really went all for it. And again, the ToeTag way is just a little too bit extreme for a lot of people. And our violence isn't fun. And when it hits you, it's pretty brutal. And unfortunately, it didn't break through to the mainstream how we wanted it to. And then it kind of got lost because we jumped back into making August Underground's Penance. And as an artist, like once I'm done with one thing, I'm on to the next thing, and then I'm on to the next thing. So to nurture the Redson Tower the way that we wanted to, I really wish we would have. That's why later on we did the grade 5-disc special edition for it, where we have everything in there, like the casting. There's a 2.5-hour documentary on how we made it. I mean, if you're a filmmaker, aspiring filmmaker, and you want to like learn about what it's like to make an independent underground movie, like this documentary on the Redson Tower Possession Edition is how you do it. It shows you the ups and downs of the whole world and the whole process of doing it. But man, did I, getting through that, and that was another tough one too, because one of the main characters ended up getting sick and have to leave like 2 weeks into shooting. So we had to like rewrite the script, and Shelby rewrote the script, and I was a mess because like now what's going to happen with my movie? It's going to be fucked up. Like that's not the story. But again, just like anything, you have to like know how to pivot and just not let anything take you down. You just keep pushing through to get it done. And I mean, we had a really great premiere at the Fantasia Film Festival, and it's a great little movie. It's a good Halloween movie.
Yeah, it is a good Halloween movie. Fantasia, is that in
that's
Quebec?
in Montreal.
Montreal?
Yeah.
Montreal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that. It's one I'd love to go to. Two movies or places I'd love to go to. TIFF and Fantasia are definitely now that I'm getting into the more sort of analytic side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two I'd love to go to. We were away when TIFF was happening this year. We were about an hour and a bit away from Toronto where I live, so that's always one I want to go and check out, just as a film fan.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with film festivals.
I can imagine.
I mean, it's a lot of like, give me money and I'll show your movie or whatever. It's a lot of politics that are involved.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap at all. I remember, I think for the final interview, we stopped after like $2,000 in submissions. I'm like, I'm done like submitting the movie to these different film festivals, because why? I get to see more people might get a chance to see the movie or whatever, but I ended up getting fucked because COVID happened, and now it's like I just spent like $5,000 on this color correction, and now we get to watch it on your computer. Like, fuck that. Like the whole idea is to watch the movie on the big screen. Like it's, the final interview is shot in a way to where like it jumps from a cinematic look to you're watching like the video. So like you get to watch the aspect ratio change while you're watching it. It's, it was really innovative too. And I just got, again, man, like, I don't know if it's the bad juju from my art or whatever, but there's always an obstacle that I gotta like get hit in the face with anytime I make something. So,
of course, and we just checked out the final interview for the first time as well a few nights ago, and the tension from that it's like you're at boiling point throughout, and there's moments where it just gets dialed up just that little bit more, and then you're brought back in, and like you see both of them, you see their true selves really throughout it. And one comment I made when we did watch it was like, can you imagine being in the room with a fucking serial killer and you're the worst guy in the room? Like Oliver Ross was the worst, and his public perception is just, he like dials in like as soon as they cut back from commercial or the correspondent, like jumping back to Oliver Ross, and he's just clued in. He's just on muscle memory, going through the motions of just antagonizing Darius Tidman throughout the whole thing, like. And then it cuts away, and he's like trying to like good cop, bad cop him type of thing. Mm-hmm. Just loved that. The tension was just cranking up every so often.
Pappas, do you see his cat on the screen here? What are you doing?
Yeah.
This is Angelo Pappas, named after Gary Busey's character from Point Break.
Oh
wow. Okay. He's a good boy.
Yeah.
He's a good boy.
This is Bruno Jenkins, named after the fat kid from The Witches. So,
yes.
He's hanging out. I noticed my door just slowly crack open, and then I just.
That's what happened. That's what happened to mine. Was
he loved the final interview as well. He's a stan for Darius Tidman. You kind of look a little bit like him.
It's funny because the final interview is my first non-ToeTag movie.
Right.
So I wanted to try something a little different, and I wanted to rely on like the acting and the direction instead of the special effects. Like it's easy for me to make a movie about a serial killer. Just give me a good actor. Give me Jeremy Cruz, give me the special effects, give me all the stuff I need to put it all together. But when you're dealing with like performance and having to rely on performance, it's a scary thing, because if the actors that I chose for this movie weren't likable enough, or read the dialogue. I mean, the movie, there's monologue after monologue after monologue. We shot this movie in 9 days, so it's these guys knew the script frontwards and backwards, and I just had 2 cameras set up, and we would just go. And Granger Hines, it was such a professional. I mean, he's in Steven Spielberg's Lincoln, and he's in the Coen Brothers, The Battle of Buster Scruggs. I mean, this guy is a super talented actor, and I was so nervous to have somebody of his caliber, come and shoot a movie in a garage in the middle of August with 100-degree heat, with 12 people standing around. This guy works on giant movies, and I mean, he had the best time on how passionate we all were, because when I'm working on bigger stuff, it's a job. Like you can't wait to get to the crafty table, get yourself a sandwich, and go back to standing around waiting for everybody to like the scene or whatever to happen. But when you're making it, you're an independent movie or an art film or your film. There's no fat. It's so lean. Everybody is there to do a job, and you got to get that job done, because you don't have much time. I couldn't afford Granger for a month. I couldn't afford Diane Franklin for a month. Like, I had to get all their stuff done in 2 days. Well, Granger, I had a little bit more time. And of course, Damien Marusak, who played Tidman, he's been in my movies since Murder Collection. So he did Murder Collection, he did Maskhead, and he was the star of Stella Turcica with Camille Keaton. And then he's the star of The Final Interview. And this is like, that dude's like my De Niro. He's somebody that I think is the fucking bee's knees, man. And I want to put him in everything, because I just think he's such a talent. And for Granger to accept him, this guy isn't an actor in Hollywood. This guy isn't, famous. And for Granger to accept Damien and those guys to work together like a team, that's what made the movie so good. And then, like, when Diane came in, I had Diane for 2 days, and they came in to read with Diane. So everything, like, when you see them, they pretty much acted out the whole movie with Diane, and just sat off to the sides on couches, lying down, reading their dialogue while Diane acted for me in front of the camera.
Wow.
And, for them to be that generous to her is just they're both amazing. And, The Final Interview is one of my favorite movies to make, because it was just me as a filmmaker. It was my first SAG movie. I'm working with movie stars. I'm working with Diane Franklin, who's like my fucking crush when I was a young man watching The Last American Virgin, and Amityville Horror 2, and Better Off Dead, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. She was the 80s hottie.
Right.
And I remember, I reached out to her on Facebook. I'm like, I really hate to do this like this, but like, I'm a filmmaker, and if you could put me in touch with your agent, I'd love to get a script to him to give to you. And at the time, she didn't have an agent. She kind of stopped acting, and she was just doing like stuff with her daughter as an actress as well. So she was doing stuff with her daughter, and she like fucking loved the script. It was nothing like she ever played before. And when I finally was able to like lock her down, it was like one of the greatest days for me, because I just love her so much. And she's such a wonderful human being too. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I've been so lucky for everybody who's been in my movies, even though some of us might talk now, or time is set us on all different courses. Everybody has just been so lovely, and believe in the art that we're doing at that moment in time. So I really lucked out with those guys.
Absolutely, and it comes across. I always believe that when you see a movie and you can feel that there's a connection between everyone and everyone is incredibly passionate about it. It really resonates throughout the film. Like there's times in movies where actors, they're clearly picking up a paycheck and they're there half the time, and even some of the best. It's happened with Marlon Brando and things like that. Like there's been experience with that, and seeing a film that, like the final interview, that it radiates just everyone's on full cylinder, passionate about the project and committed 100%. Like it resonates, man, and it was a fantastic film. Incredibly different from your other stuff, but it's like a maturity. It's
for sure.
like that level. Like if you compare, like I feel like in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks, like I've seen your first film and I've seen your last film, and it's like night and day in terms of filmmaking and just it's just incredible work, and we're honored to have had you on the show and talking to us and being so gracious with your time, and it was just a great experience, man. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed the art, and if you haven't seen Murder Collection or Celatrisco or some of the other ones, I know they're kind of hard to find, but they are out there. And hopefully Unearthed Films will be putting out the rest of my catalog, and we'll be doing some great additions, for the movies. So
absolutely. David likes to round off our interviews with a very poignant question, my favorite question. So I'll let David, you can take it.
Absolutely. So, you're sitting down and, you're popping on a movie. It could be something old, something new. You sit down, you're ready to enjoy your evening watching that film. What is your go-to snack as far as like a favorite one when you're watching a film?
God, dude, I'm such an American, man. I love to eat in front of the TV. Like, it could be anything.
Like, do you find one that you find yourself going to often as
well,
like
I think, now, I always have a water. I always make sure that I have something to drink. So I always have a water. But when I'm home, it's, unless I'm like eating, dinner time and I'm going to watch a movie, or lunchtime and I'm going to watch a movie or something like that. But when if I'm just chilling and it's nighttime or whatever, I'm not really eating many snacks. But like, whenever I go to the movies, I get popcorn every fucking time. I get a popcorn and a root beer every time, and sometimes Twizzlers. Those are like my favorites. But I've been trying to cut that high fructose corn syrup out. So, I don't really have a signature food that I eat when I watch movies, because I'm like, just trying to keep it as healthy as I can be, and not eat in front of the TV as much, even though like I love to eat in front of the TV. My wife hates it. We have this giant dining room table in our Texas Chainsaw Massacre themed dining room. And she's like, where do you want to eat? And I'm like, in front of the TV. She's like, we got this big table. We should be eating at the table. And I'm like, yeah, I guess we can eat at the table. I'm spilling shit on the floor. The cats are all down there eating stuff. And but man, I love to eat in front of the televisions, anything. I'm a foodie. My wife works at a restaurant, so like I love food.
Is there any Pennsylvania specific snacks that you will tend to go to? I know that anytime I drive through Pennsylvania, there's always like a mallow cup.
Oh yeah, my God, I love mallow cups. So I didn't know about mallow cups until I moved to Pennsylvania, and I'm like, what is this? And I didn't like coconut. But when I had my first mallow cup, because I love marshmallow, like chocolate marshmallow ice cream is like one of my favorites. I love marshmallow. And Rice Krispie treats. Fuck, dude. Like, you can just IV that shit into me. I fucking love Rice Krispie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love mallow cups became my signature candy. So like it used to be a whatchamacallit, or a Snickers bar or Reese's. But once I discovered the Mallow Cup, I get that big four banger, the big Mallow Cup. And that you can the factory is I think like 2 hours from Pittsburgh, and you can get them fresh off the line. Like I can only imagine like a beautiful fresh Mallow Cup, like still warm. Boom, done.
Yeah. We drive past. There's two signs on the journey to Virginia, going through Pennsylvania. The Zippo Museum.
Yeah, the Zippo Museum,
which we went to, and it's awesome. And there's always a sign for like I don't know if it's a Mallow Cup factory or if it's just like a big like Mallow Cup outlet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one of those, and that's the only place we haven't stopped at yet. So I think next time we're going down, I think we're going to stop at the Mallow Cup place.
Oh yeah, definitely. I need to stop there too. But again, it's just I gotta I am addicted to sugar. Sugar is my drug of choice, and it does not do me good. Sugar's not good for your inflammation. It's not good for your weight. It's not good for a lot of things. And it's tough, man, because like I'm sitting there like, oh god, I need a Rice Krispie treat, or I need a peanut butter jelly sandwich at 2:00 in the morning, and my wife's like, no, and I'm like, I gotta have it. But yeah, I love sugar. My mom, like when she was pregnant with me, she was just eating tasty cakes and butter or whatever. So I'm like addicted to sugar and butter. Not the best things to, almost be 50 years old eating all the time. But you can have a cheat day here and there.
Yeah, it's always good in moderation.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of you mentioned that anytime you go to a theater, popcorn is just like the American thing to do when you go to a movie. Like if you're not getting popcorn when you're going to the movie theater, what are you doing with your life?
What are you doing there?
Yeah.
Get out of here. Get your popcorn.
I don't know if it's a Texas thing because I'm here in Texas.
I think so.
But I have to get a dill pickle every time with my popcorn.
I love pickles. They don't do pickles out here in Pittsburgh.
Okay, well, I guess it is a Texas thing then, because I mean that's a common thing on the menu anytime you go to a theater here is that you're going to get a dill pickle regardless of where you go.
Oh man, I should try that. Here it's popcorn is one of those things, and what's crazy too is like I'll eat half the freaking thing by the time the movie even starts.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And and I share with my wife, so we're both like both those hands go in at the same time, and it's like she loves the really like almost the kernels are still there that'll like chip your teeth, and I don't like those, so I'll just let her get down to the bottom. I'll try to eat all the fluffy stuff at the top.
Nice. Yeah, popcorn is the way to go when you go to the theater. But the next time that you're having some popcorn, if you can sneak in that pickle or be in a situation at home where you're eating popcorn, try it with a pickle, man. It'll change your life.
What he does as well is he'll like chop up a pickle. Like if he's at home watching a movie and he's making some popcorn, he'll chop up a pickle like into dices and just toss it in there and mix it around like you would do with the likes of like M&Ms or whatnot. So try that.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets a little mushy after a while.
I was going to say, I'm like the juice from the pickle has to make it a little mushy.
Yeah, it'll get a little bit mushy, but I'm one of those people that if I go get a dill pickle, like I'm going to buy 3 different ways that it's cut. So I'll get like the whole one, cut in spears, cut in chip slices.
Yeah.
I have like 4 or 5 different kinds in the fridge right now. So.
Yeah, you should try putting like a dill seasoning on your popcorn. And that'll be a dry seasoning, and it'll still give you that pickle taste.
Hell yeah.
There's I think Trader Joe's. I don't know if you have them out your way, but Trader Joe's does sell a dill pickle seasoning that they put on their potato chips.
Yeah, it's great.
It's phenomenal, and I never thought about putting it on there. Wow, that just blew my mind.
Yeah,
wow.
my wife's a pickle head. She has like pickle seltzer drinks. She loves. You'll always see her with a big giant freaking pickle. If we go to a deli in New York or something, you get a really great dill pickle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, pickles are a big thing here in Canada as well. Like me personally, like I'm not like a pickle as much of a pickle guy as everyone else is around me, but pickle culture is definitely here. Like
chips.
Yeah,
well, I'm from Pittsburgh. We have Pickleburg. You know, the Heinz pickle is like legendary. I actually, on my August Underground shirt, I used to have, there was like a little Heinz pickle pin that was down at the bottom of it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, guess Heinz is famous for like ketchup and the pickle.
Right.
And so we had like a big, huge pickle where they shut down the bridges. You know, Pittsburgh's kind of like surrounded by these three rivers.
Right.
So like they'll shut these bridges down, put a Ferris wheel, and you can try like horseradish pickles, dill pickles, bread and butter pickles, you name it. You know, pickle slushies, pickle anything. Like it's crazy, and it's so packed. Like good luck even getting down there trying to get something. But it's a huge thing here that happens in the summertime.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds my kind of place.
Yeah. Well, you know, Pittsburgh is a big boy's paradise. You know, they put French fries on their salads, which is crazy. Like the first time I got a grilled chicken salad or a steak salad, there was a mound of French fries on there. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, so everything gets ranch dressing on it. You know,
Man.
There's a lot of different things. And then, you know, Pittsburgh's famous sandwich is called the Permane Brothers sandwich. And what it is, it's like this. If you guys get a chance, look it up after we get off here. But it's called Permane Brothers, and it's this giant sandwich that was made for the truck drivers back in the day. So it had like 2 giant pieces of white bread, your meat, a tomato, a slice of cheese, and then a handful of French fries and a handful of coleslaw. It's this big. So anytime I have friends coming to town, I got to take them to Permane Brothers to share a sandwich. I mean, it's for one. I mean, one person can eat it, but it's so. I mean, it's just so big and monstrous.
I just Googled it, and I want to live inside this sandwich. Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's delicious. You know, you get the capicola. You get my favorite's the pastrami. You know, I love pastrami. Like growing up in New Jersey, a lot of corned beef pastrami sandwiches, a lot of Jewish food. So,
Nice.
I love a good pastrami sandwich.
Nice. Yeah. Pastrami's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we come from the land of haggis, so that's quite experimental food right there. But haggis is fucking delicious if you've never tried it. It is incredible.
Yeah, I've actually had haggis. So my wife works at a really amazing restaurant called Feast, and the chef is made. I mean, he made head cheese, and I had his head cheese. I was just like, I would have never eaten head cheese anywhere else, but from the chef, it's amazing. You know, I've had blood pudding where it's just like curdled blood. You know, but the way it's all how it's prepared. And you think about like, oh, it sounds gross. You don't want to eat it. But, you know, there's people that have been eating this kind of stuff for thousands of years. So just, you know, shut the fuck up and try it. You know, you might like it. You might like head cheese. You might like haggis. You know.
You might like August Underground.
You might like August Underground if you watch it, you know.
I remember my dad was such a big fan of head cheese, and I tried it once, and I couldn't get past all the gelatinous edges around the meat within it.
Yeah.
And he also used to eat pickled pig's feet, and he would just take the whole foot and just start eating the meat around the foot. And I don't know how he did it, but the smell, like I like pickles, but pickled pig's feet, it smelled like kind of like dog's feet, but pickled, if that makes sense. And it's not good because it's like a pickled Frito, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's the same chef. You know, he would come to my picnic with like a big thing of chicken feet. You know, and you got to eat the little. Really small because it's just the skin and a tiny little bit of meat, and then you're like, oh shit, I just ate that whole knuckle of like chicken foot. But they're delicious, you know. And I never, like, again, I would have probably never tried it anywhere else. But when this chef makes it, I'm always eating it.
Nice. Well, it's good to have a chef nearby that'll have everything that you've never wanted to try, but you know you'll try it. It
really spoils me because he's just so good. You know, it's so good.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
Well, Fred, we'll let you get back to your evening. Thank you again for being so gracious with your time.
Sure.
We're going to leave the links to the final interview where you can go and get a very beautiful 3-disc special edition, or you can get the digital copy at thefinalinterview.com. Go check out Fred's socials and ToeTag socials and Unearthed and all the other amazing people that have been involved in making some of these excellent film. So again, Fred, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely, thank you. It's always great to speak with an 80s kid, man, because just to go back in nostalgia and just relive everything. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, no problem, man.